welcome back to Storytime with Becky. Today we're going to be talking about Esther becoming queen. Now, what does a queen look like? How does she dress? How does she act? She dresses in long, regal ball gowns, and she holds herself very proper. She behaves proper, she's polite, she's kind, she's sweet. This is how we see queens in our eyes. So once upon a time, there was a king named Ahasuerus, and he had a queen named Vashti, and they lived in a palace together, and they were happy. The king loved to throw parties. He loved to serve his guests and celebrate his kingdom. So one day he had a party, and he brought out gold plates and gold cups to serve everyone in the kingdom. Everything was prepared so nicely, the most lavish things in all of the kingdom, because the king loved to celebrate. During this party, the king asked the queen to dress in her nicest clothes, so he wanted to show her off during the party. The queen said, "I don't feel like it. I don't want to get all dressed up in my nicest clothes. They're uncomfortable." The king got very upset. He didn't like that she didn't listen to him. So he decided that she wasn't meant to be queen anymore. So he set out on this new journey to find himself a new queen whom he could trust and whom he could believe that she would listen to him. So the king made a proclamation. He set out to all of the kingdom and he put a notice saying, "I'm looking for a queen, a new queen, the most beautiful girl in all of the kingdom. I'm going to call my queen." So that's exactly what he did, and he arranged for a pageant to be put on to celebrate all of these beautiful women coming to his palace. There was a man named Mordecai, and when he heard of this, he told his niece Esther to compete in the pageant. Esther was a beautiful girl, and she was polite, and she was sweet, and she was so kind. Mordecai knew that she would make a wonderful queen for the king. So after a full year of preparing in this pageant and getting her all dressed up in these nice, beautiful clothes, getting her hair all done and her makeup all done, she competed in this pageant with a whole bunch of other girls in the kingdom. The king interviewed each and every girl, but the minute he laid his eyes on Esther, he fell in love. Esther truly was the most beautiful girl in all of the kingdom. So he asked Esther to stay with him in the castle so he could make her his queen. Esther became a beautiful queen, and the king celebrated her by making it a national holiday that she became queen. Esther was also one of God's people. She loved the Lord very, very much, and she prayed every day. She was one of God's chosen people. And the king didn't know that, actually. So when he had one of his servants named Haman came to him, and he said, "You know, there are Christians in your kingdom, and I don't think you have full control over them. They believe in this God that, this God is powerful over them, that this God provides for them, that they pray to him and all of their questions get answered. They rely on this God. They don't rely on you. I think that you need to set an example and set an example of them so everyone knows that you are the one in control, not this God." So the king was listening, and he said, "You have a very good point." He said, "I don't want a lot of people to behave like this. I want power. This is my kingdom." So the king agreed to sign a deed that said all of the Christians should be killed. So when Esther heard of this, she was so sad. But she had remembered that the king did not know that she was Christian. So Esther had to step up and be courageous. Her uncle Mordecai encouraged her to talk to the king, to talk some sense into him, that killing innocent people is not a good idea. But Esther knew she had to be very smart about the way that she handled this. She remembered that the king loved parties. So after a lot of praying, she spent a lot of time praying to God, and she requested that all of the people in the kingdom, all of God's people in the kingdom, were to fast for 3 days. So all of God's people in the kingdom fasted for 3 days when Esther asked them. After they fasted for 3 days and Esther was in deep prayer with God, she decided to talk to the king. She went to him, and because a king has to call you, it's not like she could just walk up to his throne and talk to him. She had to request to talk to him. He had to want to talk to her. He had to summon her. So she stepped in, she dressed in her nicest clothes, did her hair and did her makeup just like she knows the king likes. And the king was so happy to see her in his court. So he welcomed her to his throne. She said, "I want to throw a party because I want to celebrate our love." The king was so happy that Esther wanted to encourage some of the things that the king loved, that he said, "Whatever you need, I will give you. I'm so happy that you would do this for me and that you love me so much that you would organize this for me." She said, "Yes, I want you to be there. I want all of your servants to be there. I want everyone in the kingdom to be there. It's going to be wonderful." The king said, "That's great, Esther. If you need anything, please come to me." Esther said, "Well, there is one thing. You made this proclamation saying that you would kill all of the Christians. I don't think this is a good idea. I think that your servant Haman is tricking you into killing innocent people. I am one of those people. I would die if you go through with this proclamation." The king heard this and he was so worried for Esther. He didn't want to hurt her. He didn't want her to be killed. He had no idea. So the king heard her and he said that he wouldn't go through with the proclamation anymore. Esther saved all of her people. Through the courage of Esther and the power and prayer of God, Esther trusted that God would save all the people. And through prayer and fasting, she was able to save everyone in the kingdom. Thank you for watching another episode of Storytime with Becky. I'll see you next time.